Yo, what's good, fam? Welcome back to 254 Rugby. This is episode 41, brought to you by La Villa Fitness, located on the first floor of Langata Mall next to Clean Shelf Supermarket. Well, this is 254 Rugby, where we bring you the heartbeat of Kenyan rugby and the stories shaping the continent's game. Well, what can we say? Big developments out of Ngong Road. The Kenya Rugby Union has officially named the 28-man Simbas squad for the 2025 Rugby Africa Cup, which is set to kick off on the 8th of July in Kampala, Uganda. This year's tournament isn't just about regional bragging rights, it's also the African qualifier for the 2027 Rugby World Cup. So what are the stakes? Well, they're absolutely massive. Now, for the Kenya Simbas, head coach Jerome Parvota has rung the changes. 12 new faces from the squad that finished fourth in last year's edition. This is a squad retooled, reloaded, and ready for redemption. Let's talk about the new blood in the squad. And we do have rookies Vincent Mwihali from the Menengai Oilers, as well as his clubmate Samuel Ovwamu, who plays as a center. And those are some of the fresh faces making the 28-man squad to Kampala, Uganda. We also have Patrick Sabatia and David Bunduki from Kabras Sugar getting their first senior call-ups. And let's see how they will exert themselves. They've been impressive for the clubs they play for in the Kenya Cup competition. They have also been impressive with the Simbas during their training camp in South Africa. And definitely there is a reason as to why Jerome Parvota is repaying their faith by handing them call-ups into the 28-man squad heading to Kampala, Uganda. Joining them are Sevens specialists turning up for the 15s cause. We obviously do have Brian Tanga, Samuel Asati, and John Okoth, all seasoned, sharp, and explosive in open play. And it's also important to note that Brian Tanga, Samuel Asati, and John Okoth were part of the Simbas squad that reached the final of the 2022 Rugby Africa Cup. Remember, they defeated Uganda in the quarterfinal in Marseille, France by 42 points to 7. Another player who was part of the mix in Marseille in 2022 is Bethel Anami. Bethel Anami plays his club rugby in France. He is also back in the mix. The back row expected to be explosive there as the Simbas look to chase World Cup qualification. Then let's also talk about the inclusions of players like Andy Cole Omolo and Emmanuel Silungi, the twin towers from KCB, also returning to the squad alongside Brian Wahinya, also of KCB, and the vastly experienced Jean Ekubu. Well, this is a Simba squad brimming with versatility and experience, and it will be remember that the Simbas have been in South Africa for close to a month, where they held a month-long high-performance camp in South Africa. They played 9 matches, build-up matches against various opposition. Jerome Parvota, in his press briefing, as he announced the Simbas squad on Tuesday, 1st of July 2025, said that the guys have looked well prepared and are ready for the tournament in Uganda. We're glad that we don't have any serious injuries in the team, Parvota is quoted on the KRU website. Well, he also adds that there have been a lot of lessons learned in South Africa and the players have bonded well, and this improves teamwork both on and off the pitch. Well, for the Simbas, the work is cut out, especially, playing against Uganda in Uganda, and especially in the backdrop of the boardroom wrangles at the Kenya Rugby Union. They will be looking to be focused and, keep their eyes on advancing as far as they can in the competition. And I must tell you, what a way to start the competition, because they will start their campaign with a quarter-final showdown against Uganda, a classic East African derby under the backdrop of the Mandela Stadium in Nambole, Kampala. Well, what can we say? History, rivalry, and a World Cup ticket on the line. You couldn't script it any better. And if you're a rugby diehard, a rugby head, why don't you go across the border to the Pearl of Africa? Because that definitely is a game for the ages. Like we like to say, that is the biggest rivalry in African Test rugby. Now, it's not only the Simbas who have named their squad. The Uganda Rugby Union have also unveiled their 28-man squad for the same competition. And let me tell you something, the Rugby Cranes not looking to just show up, they want to play with a purpose. Now, there is one name that is missing, and that is Ivan Magomu. Ivan Magomu, well, since putting the Uganda Rugby Union to task, has been, what can I say, ostracized from the national team. And the captaincy and leadership group for the Uganda Rugby Cranes is comprised of Byron Okeatot. He is the captain. He is flanked by his two vice captains, that is Frank Chidega and the versatile, the wily, the annoying Conrad Wanyama Wandera. They are ready to marshal their troops in this high-stakes campaign. For Uganda, there is obviously star power, and there is that one name that leaps off the team sheet. It is none other than Philip Wokorach. The electric fullback is fresh off a standout season in the Indian Rugby Premier League, where he scored 12 tries in 12 games for the Bengaluru Bravehearts and walked away with the emerging player of the season. He is dangerous, determined, and in deadly form. Also getting a nod for the Rugby Cranes is Adrian Casito, the reliable utility back who is thriving in France with Rugby Club Tricastin. He has just re-upped his contract for another season, a testament to his growing value to the team which plays in the lower tiers of the French league. The Ugandan technical bench is led by former international Fred Mudola, and he is flanked by assistant coaches Leonard Lubambula, who also handles the Walukuba Barbarians, and Marvin Odong. Throw in Timothy Mudola, another former international who is in charge of strength and conditioning, and their consultants from South Africa, Zane Kirchner and Marais Cornelius Johannes. And it's a stacked backroom for the Ugandans. And they will come into this match against the Kenyans brimming with confidence. They also had a training stint in South Africa. They had headed down to Southern Africa with a 34-man squad, which was trimmed to 28 after today's announcement. They played a test match against Namibia, losing narrowly by 22 points to 19, that match taking place in Windhoek. And then they registered a 57-26 win over the Limpopo Blue Bulls, and then got a harsh rugby lesson from Currie Cup giants, the Pumas, losing that game by 102 points to 0. A tour of extremes, but invaluable in sharpening the squad for what's to come. Well, like we said earlier, it's not just a tournament, but it is Africa's road to the 2027 Rugby World Cup. Only one team walks away with the direct qualification slot. The pressure is real. Their clash between the Uganda Rugby Cranes and the Kenya Simbas promises to be a firecracker as always. That's a match with pride, with history, and with connotations around the Rugby World Cup. After that, we will have the semi-finals of the Rugby Africa Cup still in Kampala on the 13th of July, with the final set for the 19th. And now, let's head stateside. The reason we're heading stateside is because we've talked about the Kenya Exiles in previous editions of this show. And we just want to big up the Kenya Exiles. The reason we're bigging them up is simple. They've just made history this past weekend. They are the new Cape Fear champions, clinching their maiden title at this long-running American tournament. On Sunday, 29th of June, they turned up, they turned heads, and took home the trophy with a commanding 29-12 win over the Pit Vipers in the cup final. This is how they performed. In the pool stages, they started with a 17-7 win over the Queen City Clowns. They shifted gears in Game 2, smashing Virginia RFC by 40 points to 7, and then closed out pool play in style, cruising past the all-Navy Ruggers 43 points to 7. In the knockouts, the Exiles held their nerve. A tight, gritty battle saw them edge out the FAR Dragons 7 points to 0. And then came the big one. Under the Carolina sun, they lit up against the Pit Vipers. Final score, 29-12, statement made. It wasn't just a win. It was a statement of intent from the Kenyan diaspora that wherever rugby is played, our flag is flying high. Big up the Kenya Exiles, Cape Fear Sevens champs in 2025. Fly that black, red, and green with pride. And before we go, it is that moment in time where, again, we call upon you, if you're within the rugby space, to, keep calling for accountability from your leadership, both at club level and at union level. I guess that's the only way to go. You need accountability, transparency, and it's got to be an ongoing conversation and not one that just emerges in times of a crisis. Well, that's it from us. Follow, share, and stay plugged right in here on 254 Rugby. Until next time, twende kazi, twende rugby. Catch you later. I'm out. Thanks.